Hey, brothers and sisters, here we are again. Back at it one more time with another one for you. Now, I got these lovely links down here, right? The proper greetings, excuse me. But I got these beautiful links down here. And the first one I would encourage you to click on. The other two I'm just going to read to you. But the first one will be a map of the Indian Ocean, or at least what is the surrounding landmass, and then the Indian Ocean going into it. And what this has to do with the way of the warrior is I'm going to skip past a lot of the old history and just start going into what's going to happen. I've been pretty good about telling people what's going to happen. I don't see the point in me being afraid to speak to you guys and tell y'all exactly what it is that's on my mind. So, without further ado, here we go. The first picture is the Indian Ocean. And it's that first link down there. The India vs. disinformation. Now, it's the link is based on some whole other stuff. But the picture itself, if you just pull up on it, is really worthy of looking at because you get to see how close Iran is to China. And you can't see it in the picture, but you know just north of them, right? Of Iran and Afghanistan and all these places, just to the west of China, is the landmass that many people call Russia. Now, the way of the warrior has to do with several things. First and foremost, it's a mindset of not allowing your enemy to defeat you. No matter how far down you've gotten, you can't let your enemy have gotten one over on you. You understand what I'm saying? And we'll get to this next page here in a minute. It's nice and bright on my eyes to turn down this brightness when I read that. But anyway, you don't let your enemy get on you. And by this first, or excuse me, the last link is going to be the first one that I read to you. And it says, U.S. military keeping an eye on Iran Navy sent to Atlantic to protect interest. Now, this is the way of the warrior. This is what you do. The last time something happened with Iran, the U.S. was able to take a couple of their tankers. Iran said, okay, we won't let that happen again. So in international waters, I'm going to read the article, but you guys will start to understand. In international waters, you can't say you own the water. You follow what I'm saying? That's not how it works. So as long as they don't get too close to your nation, then there's nothing that you can do about it. Or there's nothing that you're supposed to be able to do about it. But this is why the Iranians are sending their navy, because they have to protect themselves. The U.S. military is closely watching the movements of two Iranian warships sent out to the Atlantic Ocean for the first time on a mission to safeguard the interests of the Islamic Republic on high seas. Now, if y'all looked at that picture of the Indian Ocean, the next article we're going to read is about Iran, Russia, and China launching a training drill in the Indian Ocean. And I'm going to point out to you, if you guys pull up that last link and actually look at the article right on. I don't have a screen share on my thing. I don't plan on getting one for a long time. Last time I got one, some real suspicious activity happened with my laptop. So I figure this is the best way to do it. However, I can still read it to you. The U.S. military is closely watching the movements of two Iranian warships sent out to the Atlantic Ocean for the first time on a mission to safeguard the interest of the Islamic Republic on the high seas. We're monitoring this deployment of these two ships, Press Secretary John Kirby told reporters Friday, amid speculation that the naval contingent consisting of Moj-class destroyer Sanhad and the intelligence-gathering vessel Macron was headed to Venezuela. Kirby declined to discuss what the objectives of the ships might be, but emphasized that they would remain within the sights of the U.S. forces. First and foremost, it's not their job to speculate what they're going there to do. It's really not. Because when they go to every other country that's surrounding Iran and they press about their business and tell the general populace of these places that they're just doing good regular business and they're not, they're actually doing subversive things to the people, right? Oppressive things to the people, so-called winning their hearts and minds so they can rape the land for its resources and maybe even rape the people. Come on. See, you have to understand that that's duplicitous speaking, but we're going to carry on. And this is in quotes, I believe questions should be put to the leaders in Tehran about what their intent is, Kirby said. So I'm not going to speculate about what they think they're trying to achieve, but we are monitoring it and keeping an eye on it. The mission was announced during a press conference held Thursday by Iranian Army Deputy Coordinator Rear Admiral Habibullah Sayari, who formerly served as the commander of the country's navy. He said that Sahan and Makran, which belonged to the Iranian Navy's 77th Strategic Fleet, began their journey on May 10 and have since been able to enter the Atlantic Ocean for the first time without mooring in ports of other countries. Now, I'm going to break this down to you why they've been able to do that. It's going to get deep, and y'all will understand why it's called the Way of the Warrior. Sayardi said that the journey was undertaken during a time of unfavorable weather conditions at sea in order to improve the naval capability and prove the long-term durability of Iran's naval prowess. He asserted that this came amid doubts by the U.S., which Iranian officials officially refer to as global arrogance. This is in quotes again, when we declared our intentions to enter the Atlantic Ocean, some countries, including the global arrogance, stated that the Islamic Republic of Iran Navy was not capable of doing that. But in practice, they said that they saw that we did it with strength. The Iranian Navy's ultimate mission, he explained, is to defend the maritime borders and protect the resources and interests of the Islamic Republic of Iran at sea, a mission which the Navy has successfully completed so far, end quotes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and really tie up what he's really saying right there. He's saying, look, y'all said that we couldn't get out there. Y'all thought that we was afraid or didn't have the capabilities to get out there. This is all warriorism right here, okay, y'all? Navies are sent places to take stuff over, okay? And they fight in the sea. It's not pretty. However, what he's saying is that America was so arrogant that they believed that Iran was so crippled by the sanctions. They're like, there's no way the Americans figured there was no way that the Iranians have enough juice to get out there for real. But they proved that they have. Now listen to this. Ships carrying Iranian oil have previously crossed the Atlantic Ocean to provide petroleum products to Venezuela, a partner nation currently undergoing economic and political unrest. Both Tehran and Caracas are subject to sanctions by Washington, which has ordered the seizure of some such ships and their cargo. Okay, so this is why they're sending out their navy. You hear that part, right? That last part right there. Both Tehran and Caracas are subject to sanctions by Washington, which has ordered the seizure of some such ships and their cargo. Now, what y'all need to understand is that Venezuela has natural deposits of gas and oil in their land. Because of corrupt politicians and because of, and you would really blame here in America and then, blame corrupt folks who live where they live. But Venezuela actually is very strong in natural resources. The idea is probably that the Iranians go and pick up unprocessed, unrefined stuff, process it for them, they probably do this quite regularly. You understand what I'm saying? And this is being blown up because they're sending out 2 ships to accompany regular oil tankers. So now they got something to be worried about because it's international waters. It's anything goes. So if you attack me, I have the right to attack you. And so it's pretty much like if a U.S. ship were to get too close to them, they would just go bombs away. They know that. That's a fact. Let me just keep reading. The U.S. has also alleged that Iran and its elite Revolutionary Guard have developed other strategic ties. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told lawmakers during a congressional hearing Thursday that he was concerned by the prospect of the Iranian vessels potentially transporting arms to Latin America. State Department spokesman Ned Price weighed in on the issue Thursday in response to press questions. While he, like Kirby, declined to speculate on the intentions of the Iranian ships, he issued a warning that the U.S. was ready to take action. Now listen to this. This is in quotes. We're prepared to leverage our applicable authorities. Why applicable authorities, whatever that means, Price said, including sanctions against any actor that enables Iran's ongoing provision of weapons to violent partners and to proxies. They're saying that if you do any business with them, we're going to sanction you. International sanctions against Iran's oil sector stemming from the country's nuclear program, which Tehran has always denied was geared towards producing a weapon. Once again, why does nuclear power have to be geared towards producing a weapon? Even if we said we're going to wipe these guys called Israel off the map, it doesn't mean that we need nukes to do it. Come on. That's what they're saying. That's the real argument the Iranians make when you actually listen to what they say about nuclear, power. Nuclear proliferation. There we go. International sanctions against Iran's oil sector stemming from the country's nuclear program, which Tehran has always denied was geared towards producing a weapon, were lifted by a nuclear deal reached in 2015 alongside China, France, Germany, Russia, and the United Kingdom. And I need y'all to listen. France, Germany, the same people. The Russians are related by blood relations to these same folks. And the United Kingdom. All these cats are all Frankish, Indo-European, no matter how you look at it. It's really deep. Anyway. Former President Donald Trump later unilaterally abandoned the agreement, doubling down on restrictions. His successor, President Joe Biden, has sought to re-enter the deal, but seeks new reassurances from Iran that it will first reverse steps that it has taken away from the deal in response to non-compliance of Western parties. Negotiations toward this end remain ongoing in the Austrian capital of Vienna. Now, I need y'all to understand something. When I'm reading this to you, this is all the way of the warrior. Okay, you're hearing what this is really about. It's about nuclear weapons. It's not about Iran going over to Venezuela. It's about nuclear weapons. It's about how is this activity helping them produce a nuke. That's what this is about to them. Okay, so let me go ahead and break it down. See, if I didn't keep it modern, people wouldn't understand what I'm about to do. Not right now, but here in a little second. The Biden administration has not yet announced any initiative to re-engage with Venezuela when President Nicolas Maduro remains in power, remains in power, despite the U.S. cutting ties with him in early 2019 in favor of opposition-led National Assembly Juan Guaido, I don't know how to say his name, who has accused his socialist rival of election fraud. Now, before I carry on, I just needed to just be clear with this. By no means a stretch of the imagination could Iran be doing this without this military exercise that they did with Russia and China not too long ago. Now, that's the second link I want to say, and I'm going to read this to you. It's not very long, right? And then I'm going to start chopping it up. It's about a 9-minute read, if I don't do too much sidebar. Iran, Russia, and China launched joint naval exercises in Indian Ocean. Now, this is 18 February 2021. Now, why this is so important is because the same route that they're taking is this. This is how they cleared it out. They launched a military exercise. So, I mean, what's the U.S. going to do? Act like they're going to take on Russia, China, and Iran's Navy? Please. In the Indian Ocean? Please. They cleared out the whole area, right? They did an exercise, okay? I'm gonna read it to you, but y'all need to understand where I'm going with this. They did a military exercise, okay? But they cleared out the whole Indian Ocean area. This is what allowed Iran to be able to go safely without having to worry about being intercepted. Now let's read. On February 16, as NATO prepared its summit to prosecute strategic rivalry with Russia and China, Iranian and Russian warships launched ongoing naval drills in strategic waters of the Indian Ocean, south of Iran and the oil-rich Persian Gulf. They are soon to be joined by Chinese warships, which were reportedly delayed by the Chinese New Year festival. The drills highlight the global war tensions that are at explosive levels as the Biden administration takes office. These are the second such exercises, continuing a format inaugurated by a joint Iranian, Russian, Chinese maritime security belt naval drills held in December 2019. Shortly afterwards, Washington ordered the brazen assassination of top Iranian general Qasem Soleimani, who was murdered, listen, who was murdered in a U.S. drone strike at the Baghdad airport January 3, 2020. Whoever wrote this did an excellent job. Because that's not conjecture. That was murder what happened to the man. This year's Iranian, Russian, Chinese exercises take place as Iran's economy reels under the impact of U.S. sanctions and the COVID-19 pandemic, as he maintains devastating financial sanctions that Trump imposed on Iran after unilaterally scrapping the 2015 Iranian nuclear treaty. Biden ordered last month a provocative flyover of the Persian Gulf by a lone B-52 Stratofortress bomber escorted by Saudi F-15 fighter jets. The Iranian, Russian, Chinese drill underscores that with its threat against Iran, Washington is prosecuting a far broader global conflict that threatens to erupt into war. Thank you. The drill comes shortly after the large Malabar 2020 naval exercise in November with U.S., Indian, Japanese, and Australian ships, including aircraft carriers USS Nimitz and INS Vikramaditya. I think that's what it's called, Vikramaditya. This joint naval mobilization of the so-called Asian squad of U.S. allies, as Voice of America reported, citing Indian naval spokespersons in effort to contain China. So look, they're saying that they did this to try to hold the Chinese back, right? So that's what they did last year, okay? So this is just in November. Listen, just a few months later, they push back with their own exercise. Listen. This is crazy. Shortly after these exercises, top Iranian nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh died on November 27th near Tehran in what U.S. intelligence described as an Israeli assassination. I had a link on that described they used a truck with a drone machine gun on it, and it self-detonated afterwards. There's nothing more cowardly than that. Just straight up cowards, and they know they're cowards. Iran's Navy Chief Rear Admiral Hossein Khazandi announced that current drills aim to ensure collective security in the region and in the northern Indian Ocean. Khazandi implied that the drills aim to expel U.S. influence from the region. I just said, what have I said? This is what the article is saying. It means that global arrogance, which until today dominated the region, must realize that it needs to leave it, because it's going to pop off if you don't. While Khazandi also initially reported that Indian warships would join the joint exercise, Indian naval officials subsequently denied that India is participating in the exercises. Listen, India is just playing both sides, doesn't really care. Well, they do care. They're just waiting for the great day so they can put the knife in the back of the so-called Americans. The Japanese are going to do the same thing. Don't worry. The Russian Baltic Fleet Press Service reported that the corvette Stoic and the tanker Kola would participate in the exercise. It said that Russian and Iranian sailors will carry out joint maneuvers, the freeing of a merchant ship hijacked by pirates, as well as extinguished a simulated fire on a ship in distress. It added that the ships would practice artillery firing at surface targets, searching, signaling, and defense against piracy or sabotage operations. So they were, do you hear what they were doing? So, because what do you think that another Navy is going to do other than take your stuff and pretty much pirate you? So we're teaching you guys how to fight back against another Navy without even saying that that's what they're doing. On February 8th, a Russian ambassador to Iran, Levon Zagarayan, announced the exercises. General Kenneth F. McKenzie, the commander of the U.S. Central Command that leads U.S. military operations in the Middle East, denounced them at the Middle East Institute in Washington. Of course he would. He said that CITCOM, area of operations, is and always has been crossroads of global interest and historically a prime arena for foreign powers to compete for influence, for resources, and for access. Do you hear what this guy is trying to say right now? I'm gonna read the whole quote, but I gotta bust his head wide open. In 2020, Russia and China exploited an ongoing regional crisis, financial infrastructure needs, perception of declining U.S. engagement, and opportunities created by COVID-19 to advance their objectives across the Middle East and Central and Southern Asian nations to gain and strengthen footholds in the region. End quotes. Listen to this right here. He's trying to say that because in the Bible that the Israelites were not native to the land that they invaded, that it's okay for them to do the same thing. And I'm going to keep it pushing. That's wild, though. That's really what he's saying. While branding Iran as a supporter of terrorist organizations and for supposedly driving instability seen in Syria and Yemen, McKenzie also attacked Moscow and Beijing. He said Russia will continue to challenge U.S. presence as opportunities present themselves. He cited Moscow's attempt to serve as an alternative to the West by trying to mediate regional conflicts and to increase its influence by participating in regional and multilateral organizations and military exercises. He added that China uses its Belt and Road Initiative and the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor to expand Chinese influence and presence in the Middle East. U.S. imperialism faces an insoluble crisis, and its catastrophic response to the COVID-19 pandemic and the debacle of its Middle East policy. In the 3 decades since the Stalinist dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 removed the main military counterweight to U.S. imperialism, Washington waged aggressive wars from Iraq to Afghanistan, Libya, and Syria, costing millions of lives and trillions of dollars. These wars did not reverse but hastened U.S. decline. U.S. forces withdrew or left behind skeleton forces in countries they had invaded, discredited at home and abroad. While Washington retains regional military superiority with vast naval and air forces and heavily guarded strategic bases across the Middle East, this cannot resolve a crisis rooted in its profound shift in global economy and class relations that have matured over decades. Russia and Iran both intervened in Syria to oppose the al-Qaeda-linked militias NATO supported in the proxy war for regime change it launched against Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in 2011. With U.S., European, Russian, Iranian, and Turkish forces all intervening in Syria, the country lost over 500,000 dead. 10 million Syrians were made refugees. The NATO defeat in the war, with its proxies now consigned to a small portion of Syria's territory, has gone hand in hand with reorientation in the region as China emerges as the main trading partner for many countries in the region, and the debacle of the U.S. response to COVID-19. Last July, New York Times broke that China and Iran had signed a 25-year treaty of commercial and military cooperation. In an alarm article, it wrote, at a time when the United States is reeling from recession and coronavirus and increasingly isolated internationally, Beijing senses American weakness. The draft agreement with Iran shows that, unlike most countries, China feels that it is in a position to defy the United States' power enough to withstand American penalties, as it has in the trade war waged by President Trump. The Times called the alliance a sweeping economic and security partnership based on a $400 billion of Chinese investment in Iranian industry and infrastructure. It added, the partnership detailed an 18-page proposed agreement obtained by the New York Times would vastly expand the Chinese presence in banking, telecommunications, ports, railways, and a dozen of other projects. In exchange, China would receive a regular and, according to an Iranian official, an oil trader, heavily discounted supply of Iranian oil over the next 25 years. I'll break it all down when I'm done reading it because it's almost over. The Times pointed to the growing Chinese influence in the regional infrastructure and the potential for corresponding growth of China's influence in naval affairs and the region's critical oil trade. China's ports built under the BRI program in the Indian Ocean region, like the Habanota in Sri Lanka and Gwadar in Pakistan, it wrote, constitute a necklace of refueling and resupply stations from the South China Sea to the Suez Canal. Ostensibly commercial in nature, the ports potentially have military value too, allowing China's rapidly growing navy to expand its reach. So they're trying to set up a bunch of naval ports. While Beijing is attempting to balance its relations with Iran with close commercial relations with Iranian regional rivals like Saudi Arabia, this treaty was nonetheless confirmed. Moreover, as Chinese firms recently completed railroads linking China to Tehran via ex-Soviet Central Asia, U.S. diplomat sources speculated that China might finance post-war reconstruction of Syria, estimated at between $200 billion and $1 trillion. These events are, in the final analysis, a warning to the working class. There can be little doubt that Washington will respond to the growing weakness and crisis of its position with renewed wars and reactionary intrigues, even though it faces nuclear-armed opponents in both Russia and China. As far as the Iranian, Russian, and Chinese capitalist regimes, they have no progressive solution to imperialist aggression or the crisis of the imperialist-dominated world order. Oscillating between the desperate attempts to cut deals with Washington and to threaten it with their militaries, they leave the world teetering on the brink of nuclear war. Don't have to worry about nuclear war. Trust me. That's their plan right now is to, I'll tell you about that here in a second. Give me a moment. It is urgent to build an international social movement in the working class. Such a movement can not only fight for a scientifically driven world policy to halt the COVID-19 pandemic, but in the danger of war by overthrowing the capitalist systems which gives rise to drive to war. This is at the World Socialist website. Listen, y'all got to understand. Love it when people give it to them. What's popping, everybody? I hope y'all was hearing everything because now I'm about to break it down. Okay, I had to read all that. And that part, the deepest part is this last part right here, right? Is when it talks about what China's plan is, right? About how it's trying to build all these ports, and they want to pretty much have the whole outer perimeter. The U.S. won't be able to ever get back in. This is their idea, right? But man, it's so crazy because that's the socialist website talking like that. That's not some that's not Al Jazeera. And there was 5 or 6 different websites I could have went to. I just didn't go because I didn't feel like that was necessary. I didn't think that was warranted. You get what I'm saying? So it's worthy. It's worthy to be in that situation just to know that it's all happening. The way of the warrior, RIC, their way of the warrior. See, so if y'all heard what was really being said is that the only reason why they go in stealth about certain things is because in particular areas that are of interest to them that they don't want destroyed, right? The U.S. military has like their stockades or whatever built up. They're there in enough presence and power where you'd have to destroy everything just to get them out of there. That's not worth it to them. Cyber attacks are up. I did videos almost 2 years ago now talking about how they were going to be doing ransomware attacks. This is on the other channel I got, right? And I brought it up a little bit here too. But the whole point is that I don't think there'll be a nuclear war because I strongly see what Rick and friends are trying to do. They're in their warrior ways, is that they're attempting to undermine the entire technological system. And one of the easiest ways to do it is to have a bunch of supplies so everybody can move about and gad about freely. The only way you can do something, especially if you're in a place where, let's say, the Indian Ocean, and you live in India, you live anywhere in that region, in order to keep the situations at bay, you have to do the right thing, which is you can't pick a fight with everybody, right on? Because Iran's in between too many places. So they're not in a position to be like, okay, our back is to the water, our Navy is right here, and you can't run up on us like that. You have to really come do something to us. You follow what I'm saying? So because they're not in a situation like that, even though they're the more aggressive of the Russian and the Chinese, of the three of them, they're clearly the most aggressive. But the thing is, it's not their aggression that puts them in the forefront or the tip of the spear. It's their willingness to follow through. See, those exercises, like I read to y'all, they were practiced. It's always well timed or conveniently timed when people do things. It was conveniently timed for Joe Biden to fly over those ships, right? But when he did that, he didn't know what kind of response he was going to get, because the response that was rendered was that all three of those nations, right, Rick, plus friends, were all doing naval exercises. Now, why that's such a big deal is because, like I said, they cleared out the entire corridor which Iran needed to get through the Indian Ocean. People can say, think, feel, whatever. This is a fact. Without them doing that, Iran's not coming to Venezuela that freely. They would probably have to use proxy vessels, and that stuff takes the money it takes to have all that fuel shipped across, either in a train yard to a port on the other side, right, where you have interest somewhere or whatever, right, or to just have another country to take it off your hands to bring it somewhere because they already have the ability to do that. That it's just less costly. So what happens is that the warriorism kicks in, and they say, look, the only way that we're going to be able to accomplish these goals, and like I told y'all, they have friends south of the border. I spoke on this in the very first RIC. I told everybody about their friends in the south of the border, everywhere else. So it's not like, what I'm saying is nothing I've said is too far. Nothing I've said is so far gone. Right on. I'm not tripping. They're trying to launch some kind of major cyber something. I don't know what it is, but that's the real thing. You can't even, there could be no war. Like I said years ago, the broad walls of Babylon, now that I think about it, I couldn't have been all the way wrong. The cyber walls have to come down. That stuff, otherwise they have nuclear access. Okay, so think about this. Which makes more sense? To make the Americans have to fight tooth and nail with bare minimal technology, or to fight a true hot war and everybody's actually nuking each other. Right, the first one makes way more sense. Because who's outnumbered but America? And everyone would descend upon them. It's not even a question. It's like a known fact. So the vested interest to bring down the grid is where everything is at. See, they're afraid, not because they're bringing they're coming over here in the tanker. See, they're afraid because they don't, what did I tell y'all in the first RIC and Friends? Y'all don't know who these cats are coming up across the border. Right on? And in the last video, before they had cut it off in one of the spots and messed it all up, I'm trying to tell y'all, where do you think all this is going? Right. Why do you think I said that some of these cats can't tell the difference between a Mexican and a Chinese dude? Right on? Or any kind of person from the south of the border and somebody of the Asian diaspora, but in particular the Chinese can't tell the difference. Can't tell the difference between an Iranian and somebody who's from south of the border, especially if they speak the language. What do you think the real fear? What do you think the real fear of them crossing it is? See, when your enemy is going to blend in with those that are seeking aid and asylum from those that they claim in their own nation are terroristic, and these people are brought into your nation, fed with your tax dollars, housed with your tax dollars, only for them to be a true wolf in sheep's clothing. See, that's the issue. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to accept that. They don't have to. Once again, the way of the warrior is to get close to your enemy so that way they can't deny you combat. Because that's what a coward will do. See, it's convenient if you have a bunch of resources and you have the witchcraft and the sorcery to create what they call a cinematography, a motion picture, a movie. And you can present yourself and project your ancestry as a hardy warrior. But in the reality, that's not what we ever perceive. And in fact, the actions speak counterintuitive to that. So when we have to come face to face with what is the truth, and then what is it that we actually just simply believe in our minds, we're forced to confront that. And it's a stark reality of one thing. That if these places were much closer, where you live, those who live here wouldn't act the way that they act. They wouldn't be able to. Right. Much like they weren't able to act that way once it came into the better mind. Right? Because who knows what form of retaliation. They have not retaliated yet for the death of General Qasem Soleimani. They haven't. So who knows how that's really going to come. If y'all think that China's going to take this stuff laying down, let me find the link for this because I sent it to a brother earlier. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Bang. Copy. Let me paste this for y'all into here. Okay. And this is an article where Wuhan is pushing back on anybody trying to say that they started the corona, right? And pretty much in the article, it explains that they found a variant of corona in a bat. But what I've been saying for a hot second, well over a year, they be over there eating cat, rat, bat, and dog. How else could you once again, let me stop. That's the point though. See, all the pushback is coming at times when people least see it. Because China's economy, as far as their stories being able to be told, and as far as everyone else in the world is saying, is coming up right now. So the way of the warrior for them is once again to be stealthy and to not let all your moves be seen right then and there, especially by a group that has the ability to subvert your actions via sanctions. That's it. We'll tell this country that's close to the region that we have so-called good ties with, we'll tell them, hey, if you continue to supply them with this resource, we'll cut you all the way off. So this country says to China, hey, we can't do any more business with you. See, that's called economic warriorism, right on? People don't understand. They don't know that there's different ways to fight wars. It's not always duking it out. It's a mind thing sometimes. And the person who has the best idea and the circumstances of how whatever plays out benefits the most is going to be the victor. In this case, China said we're not taking in anybody else's trash, period. We're just not doing it, right? They did that 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago. They did that at a very wise time. Now think about this. That doesn't seem like that was a warrior type move. But why do y'all think y'all seeing trash everywhere? If people who live in cities have been to the landfills where they live, they know that it's terrible. If they haven't been there, I'm trying to tell y'all, there's different ways to fight these battles. And they're not gonna just run up like a stupid person and just, kind of like how people commit suicide by police. They're not going to do that. You follow what I'm saying? Right? They're not going to put themselves in a position where it seems like it's suicide by police. That's just not intelligent. So what I take from it and what I perceive from it is that even though there's a lot of brothers and sisters who just want it to be a certain way. They want it to just be, they're going to come here and they're going to jump out of planes and they're just going to act a fool. That's not how it's going to happen. These military exercises are only going to get more and more and more, excuse me, prevalent. And they're only going to get more and more aggressive. They have no choice. See, the one thing I know about watching somebody do whatever they want to do is that they only do what they want to do because they've been in positions before where they had no other option. And because they had no other option, they made a decision to act. So sometimes it's in your best interest to just do what you want to do, or do what you know is the best thing to do. You follow what I'm saying? And not wait for something to happen for you. So as opposed to China saying that, yeah, we had people dropping dead in the streets from COVID, they're not even going to talk about that. They're just going to move past it. And just like, see, the difference between Iran and Russia and China is that Russia and China don't have to say death to the West. Word? Their actions tell you death to the West. Right. Y'all heard in the article, but I've been telling y'all Russia and China are both nuclear powered, but they're over there on that side of the world. Say it then. So what can they actually do? Right. But the United States has, but before they got to the point to where they could get that powerful, right? The United States had already placed, their navies and nuclear weapons in all these places. So technically, the United States could nuke all of them. Even if you got to the U.S. and was, let's say, you were able to carpet bomb the whole East Coast, right? The U.S. would have carpet bombed the whole eastern side of the fucking planet. Swear to God, that's not practical. That makes no sense. So the way of the warrior. See, look, I told you that ethos that I used to live by, that I still live by silently, but I used to practice it out loud. To be a fighter, you have to be a warrior. To be a warrior, you have to be a soldier. To be a soldier, you have to be in the battle. But to be in the battle, you have to win the war within yourself. So, still saying that if you cannot overcome yourself, you don't stand a chance at the most basic level. And Iran doesn't realize that the world is out of the rah rah stage, where Earth is out of the people are tired of rah rah. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want to hear none of that. Just do what you're going to do, or and just let it be. I love rah rah. I grew up when it was still like that. So, uh, but these youngsters aren't like that. They don't move like that. They don't think like that. So their whole get down is different, and I can't blame them because they were brought up differently. I have to accept that. You follow what I'm saying? But the cats who are pulling the strings right now, they come from that rah rah generation, and some of them come from that. You know what I mean? That say less movement. You know what I'm talking about? You know, they're gonna move. People see. I laugh when they say that gangsters move in silence. It's like no, they don't. No, no, actually they didn't. The what's popping, family? The real gangsters back in the day didn't move in silence at all. Those guys, this is Al Capone and all those guys were brazen. Those guys, they were doing shit. They were known about for being brazen, not for being, you know what I'm saying, fucking alley cat. So excuse my language, but you get what I'm saying though. That when they say that gangsters move in silence, no, serious people when they're trying to get things done move silently. They're not going to go tell. For example, yesterday I had to go pay for this vehicle that I believe someone actually abandoned, right? Who was supposed to be looking out for me, and I think they pulled a real shiesty move. I can't prove it yet, but so far there's no evidence that exonerates them. There's no exculpatory information. You understand? So I had to pay $370 to get this car that I could have made some money off of actually, right? I had to pay money to get rid of the car. It's really kind of sad thing. However, the the foolishness would be for me to know that I have this situation going on and then to go to where I'm going, like, oh, I gotta spend four. I knew I had to spend 360. I knew that. Right on. When I got there, they tried to tell me 396, and I was like, nah, the dude told me 360 on the phone. And the guy was like, well, we charge half extra for the day, but he's like, we'll knock that off and blah, blah, blah. I was like, it's whatever. Right on. Come on, man. $369, $370. You follow what I'm saying? So as opposed to me being loud about I have to go spend that much money, because you don't know what somebody's going through right now. And you don't know if a person is ready to up the gun on you, to up a knife on you, to do whatever, right? To try to think that they caught you slipping, to put you in a situation where now you have to defend yourself life or death. Because it looks like they mean to do harm to you no matter what. So you have to defend yourself. It's better to not even be in that kind of position. It's better to just have said less, right on? You know? And when I went out like that, I don't go out wearing fancy clothes. I dress down. I look real regular. I look almost homeless. Word. So that way people don't bother me for the most part. I'm being 100,000 with you. I'm not making this shit up. So when cats try to say stuff like, oh, you know, gangsters move in silence, like, no, there's a serious mindset you have to have, you know, to be silent. And a lot of those cats back then were flamboyant. You know, they try to say that vivacious is only really, you know, typically reserved for women, but vivacious was the lifestyle that many of those gangsters lived, you know. So they can't try to tell me or you anything else, you know. And that's where I'm at, is that China and them are serious. Iran's serious. Russia's serious. They didn't come out and broadcast to the world and say, hey, we're about to have a military exercise in the Indian Ocean. No, they just did it. And the U.S. military, whoever was there, anybody who didn't want to get carpet bombed, right, while they were shooting artillery to the left, they had to get the hell up out the way. Right. What are you going to do? Act once again. Russia has its own submarines. China has its own submarines. I don't know what Iran has, but they probably have their own submarines too. It's like, how much of the funky business do you really want? When it's going to be 3-1 realistically. And if you start losing, it's going to be everybody versus you. So the idea that somebody's going to broadcast their attack before they do it, or tell you, like, whenever they feel like they're in position to do what they can do, they're not going to come out and say, hey, Earth, tomorrow we're going to actually shut down the internet, kill off all power grids, and we're going to set it all the way off. They're not going to come out and say that. It's just going to happen. And they're only going to do it once they feel like they're in a strategic enough position to battle the battles that's going to take place. Because there's still going to be things that are operational that don't need, that aren't full-blown electrically powered or whatever. You get what I'm saying? These movies about super EMPs, they're as real as they can be. They're as real as they can be. That's what I don't know if that's what they're trying to do, but it would be something akin to that, but times 100. Because they're going to shut it down. When I say they're trying to shut down everything in the U.S., they're trying to shut down everything. No response. Right. And you got double, secret, triple, quadruple agents who are working in these places they're just waiting for I'm telling y'all, they're waiting for the moment. China said, we smell weakness. We smell it in the blood. Iran doesn't have to say we smell weakness. They've never respected America, period. The Russians are the only ones who speak to a certain level of humility, because they're the only ones who've actually lost face up, any kind of real struggles to the Americans that they can actually think of and be like, damn, they literally helped the Afghanis beat the hell out of us all the way out of Afghanistan. Right. And it's not a secret who helped them. It's a known fact. So that's a stain on their reputation and on their honor as warriors. Trust me. You have to understand how warriors think in order to even immerse yourself into knowing that it's not just about throwing punches and kicks and shooting bullets and bows and arrows and slicing with swords and hitting people across the head with bucklers. You understand? Okay, it's about more than that. It's more than about breaking necks and breaking backs. Can you dig it? And spilling innards. It's more than about cutting off heads. The way of the warrior is a lifestyle. Their lifestyle as peoples have brought them to this very point, to these very moments. See, it wasn't very long ago that these countries didn't even have guns, and the Americans did, and they were still fighting wars that people would call primitive. But they're not primitive. Right on? They just didn't have guns. That's all that is. Me not having a gun doesn't make me primitive right now. You think not having a gun right now makes a person primitive. Think about that for a moment. See, and it's that type of thinking that tells me that they're not really warriors. How could they be? They don't even respect what it is to be a warrior. Once again, you have to win the war within yourself. That means you have to get over yourself. Black people don't go around. I'm just going to make an example. All these guys who make all these hood movies, they get 5-star ratings and 4.5 star. They get love because it's a bunch of bullshit, right? That people glorify. Having said that, though, they project that onto themselves. You follow what I'm saying? Because that's all they know. They don't think that people would take them serious if they tried to do a full-length feature film where they took on the role as somebody out of history. They don't think like that. So therefore, how they're normally going to be viewed as their movies will never ascend a urbanite setting. That's as good. That's all they're good for. You follow what I'm saying? Whereas the our pale counterparts will present themselves once again, like I said, in a warrioristic way, where you see what I'm saying, where the character is shown and presented in such a way you don't have to admire their skills, but you have to respect the skills if you understand what those kind of skills are. So this is why, once again, the projection of what they have shown us is false. But what we take and what we accept is even worse. But what the Iranians, Russians, and the Chinese have projected upon themselves and unto themselves is totally different. They've known, they've never had an interruption. They've never not thought that they weren't warriors. Understand what I'm saying? That proud warrior cultures. There's places in the world that have been conquered, that have been colonized, that have proud warrior cultures that the people come from. If folks can respect that, then they can respect little things like when I say the real reason why Hawaiians hate Kamehameha is because he could have never beat his giant or part giant brothers without the assistance of the English or the British crown. Excuse me. You follow what I'm saying? Because it took rifles and it took cannons to murder his. Kamehameha was measured at somewhere around 7'7". All of his kin that he was going up against, these guys were all bigger than him, all larger than him. He couldn't fight them face up. So he had to have cannons, had to have guns. I'm trying to break it down. This is why Kamehameha is looked down and frowned upon by a lot of folks who really are from the islands. See, when you understand things like that, you can talk about it. But let me just go ahead and get back to the point. Proud warrior culture. Even the cats that I was just talking about from the islands of Hawaii, proud warrior culture. Any islander group has proud warrior culture. The only group that I can think of right now who's not allowed to have a proud warrior culture, come on, y'all see where I'm going with this, is us. So we don't even get to understand the real way of the warrior. Right. I'm trying to tell you that RIC knows the way of the warrior, Gentile or not. They do know it. And the fact that they know the way of the warrior, you should appreciate what they're trying to show you right now, which is when you have a strong hand, play it. When you don't have a strong hand, play it out. Does that make sense? You don't fold. And the problem that we're seeing with brothers and sisters is that they give up all too often because they don't see. Folks tell them, "Oh, you need to tap into your ancestors." No. What you need to learn is an actual skill to build your confidence. And once you know that you have a certain level of mastery or of just basic understanding of the skill, so that way you can build your confidence to understand that a warrior does no different. A warrior shoots a bow with they release the bow, okay, and they allow it to go with conviction and confidence. They don't, you follow what I'm saying? They don't question their art. Their art is true. And because brothers and sisters aren't taught that there's a way to be, once again, RIC knows the way of the warrior. Rick is so, once again, Rick was so intelligent that they did not broadcast or say anything. Right. Did they go out there and try to do that type of stuff when B-52 bombers are flying overhead and all that? No. Because they'd have to fight tooth and nail. But what did they do? They waited and they said, this is the perfect time to roll out our own form of retaliation and to open up a route of direct ingress for the Iranians right to Venezuela. So that way we don't have to worry about nothing. All we have to do is go around the bottom of Africa, come on up. That's it. Nothing else. See what I'm saying? And that bothers people that I'm breaking it down that show. I don't care what you think about America. This is what happened. This is what took place. Rick is so intelligent, like I said, that they figured out a way to get people in their own nations to not be stupid. Okay, so like there's proud cats, I'm sure, in Russia, proud cats in China, proud folks everywhere who, a lot of national pride. But let me tell you this though. I just know personally that guys who have a plan who come from places, they don't tell you the plan because they don't want you to interrupt the plan. Not because they think that you can stop them. See, folks don't want to hear this, but the Iranians are prepared to die to the man. The Chinese and the Russians are prepared to die to the man. You live in a country where they drop bombs today, somewhere on this earth. An authorized and legal war strike was conducted. Airstrike, was conducted on behalf of the United States government. And whether or not it was somebody who was trained by the United States government who flew the jet, it was done on behalf of the U.S. government. Can you hear me? And that, brothers and sisters, should be problematic to you. Because you live in a place where they think it's okay to murder folks who they've never met, have never done anything to them. And because one individual in the home they claim is a threat to national security, we're talking thousands of miles away. This person's a sheep herder, and they're a threat to national security. And with your tax dollars, they murder these people. I already read it to y'all. Millions of lives and trillions of dollars wasted, lost. Do y'all get what I'm saying? Do y'all realize how many of those people that they murdered look just like me and you? Can you feel that? Do you realize how many of them look just like you and I? Because that's the part you need to start thinking about. Those brothers and sisters in Yemen, who the Iranian government is bravely supporting. The Palestinian government, who the Iranians are bravely supporting. People will sponsor Israel, a motherfucking terrorist. The real victims, they'll say, well, these guys, this is their promised land. Well, they didn't get it back like the Bible said they would, so maybe they should wait. They don't want to hear that. Right. They'd rather be a terror to all those people. They're a scourge of the earth. Mankind. They're not even men, but they're a scourge. They are wickedly evil. Right. Now, once again, they talk all this shit about how they want to say that these guys are like the new axis of evil, but they don't go around bombing countries indiscriminately. They don't. That's something that the United States started. Right. They started that. So what are they talking about? See, one of these days, it's going to really hit people super hard. See, I can't pull up anything from their past. If I did it, I have a feeling, because in my last video, they tried to mess it up at one point. I don't want YouTube to try to take this video down or to say that I did something wrong, because I'm trying to tell y'all there's some other information I'm going to have to present it in another video. So in the next 20 or 30 minutes, I'm going to wrap this one up, okay? And then really look for me in like a day or so. I've just been kind of busy doing some stuff, getting some things taken care of, and you know, almost done with that endeavor. So, you know, but pray for your boy, because I've been coming across a lot of information. There's a lot of hot fire. Some of it I can't really say. I made a silent promise to to an ally of RIC that I wouldn't keep throwing them around like that, because there's a situation that's developing that I have to wait to see what's going to happen. I'll just say that keep your eyes on south of the border. Word? Keep your eyes on south of the border. Watch that situation. Keep heavy attention on it. And I'm talking about anywhere from 2 months, but less than 6. You follow what I'm saying? Keep an eye out for that, because it's gonna pop off. There's gonna be some real friction. But I'm not sitting here playing a guessing game with y'all, but I do have to show you guys, you know, how much of warriors these guys are. Like, yo, like from the time when they used to fight with swords and shields until when they first got their first guns, and just show like, yo, some of these cats were literally fighting against pretty much developed nations, what you would call, right? At this point, you would call America a developed nation, anything likened to it a developed nation, and just show y'all how before they were even all the way developed, they were still using tactics that were older, like Chinese special forces, right? You know, like some of them still carry around swords. Word. And we're not talking about officers. Okay, we're not talking about an officer's sword that you get in the military, right? No, we're not talking about, which will still kill somebody, by the way. We're not talking about one of them. We're talking about actual straight up special forces operators in China with actual swords and stuff like that. And what it tells you is that they haven't given up on the culture that they know that they come from. Because you can act like or think that you're better than something, but if this is what you are, this is what you are. So I don't act like I'm better than the slaves that I come from. You feel what I'm saying? Because I understand that at the end of the day, I'm still a descendant of a slave. That's the bottom line. Now, my actual true ancestry is not all the way slaves, but in this land, I descend from slaves. There is no denying that. I don't try to hide from that. And to do anything else would be despicable. But that's why I speak to it on that level, because there's a lot of cats who will try to make it seem as if they're above that. How are you above a slave yet you want reparations? Follow what I'm saying. You dig what I'm saying? You dig me? So you can't be a true warrior, but you're going to be above the ways that warriors used to fight and fought for thousands of years. Right? Guns are hella brand new. So, right, when y'all did what I'm talking about, bows, arrows, slings, darts, catapults, all kinds of weapons of war, right? You follow what I'm saying? Halberds, spears, what's it called? The flail or whatever, right? The thing with the little ball at the end of it. Check me out. All that stuff, all of it was used for thousands of years. That's the way of the warrior. So you can't act like you're above that because now there's guns. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Did you see how I liken slavery to the changing of how you're not a slave anymore, right? But you can't act like you're better than that. So you can't act like you're better than washing your clothes with your bare hands. Word, even if you have a washing machine. And you can do all that. See, this is the mentality I'm trying to tell y'all. Rick has it. Rick has never been above the mentality, but Rick was never broken like we were broken. So, of course, they should be intact and able to do all the things that they're doing. Having said that, brothers and sisters, it would just be irresponsible for me to act as if I didn't know that how we perceive these things is going to be major in the future as to what sort of recipients we're going to be for everything, how it plays out. When's the last time? I'm sure it happens, but I couldn't tell you about a time when a soldier in China or even in Iran lost their mind and started attacking people on base. You follow what I'm saying? Like, I feel like the situations that they're in are so much more dire that they need each other way more than they don't need each other. But here in America, you see that rugged individualism, cats don't think that they need anybody. But you do, you need help. The most successful people had help. Come on. Whether you want to call it divine help or just help that they got from a person, right? That this person was sent from the heavens to do whatever. Whatever you want to say. The point is this. Nobody makes it without help. Nobody. Everybody needs help. But only in this land, see, dealing with black people, which is weird because I have to liken our situation to why Rick is this is why they're so much more successful in their endeavor as far as waging a silent war against the enemy. That is the true white devil. I was watching the video earlier today, Vlad Putin looking like a white Asian, more and more every time I see him. But anyway, they have never lost their mind. They have never lost the goal of, I have to fight them. And I have to stay within a certain rigid way. See, they say it's called staying on code. I laugh because what is the code? Is the code somebody else telling you to pull up on people in another city and state while they travel around and go live their best life, but tell you to pull up, but they don't fly out there, get a rental, and pull up their goddamn self? You see, it's shit like that. That's backwards pimping. And I don't knock nobody, but I do knock them, but I don't, once again, I knock the hustle because it's dirty macking. And when it's all said and done, you feel me? Backwards pimping, dirty macking, whatever you want to call it. It's all messed up. Because here we are, the group that's being oppressed, cats who claim that they've been oppressed in the system, around other oppressed brothers and sisters, who yet seek to have you, listen to me now. It's not like they're like my guy Boxing Ego or somebody like that, somebody who I like to listen to who's just like a sport commentator who you can support if you choose to and don't if you don't want to. These are cats who are literally like, yo, we're fighting for black people. You know what I'm saying? My name should be black. My first and last name should be black, right? We dealing with niggas like that. If anybody can really understand that they want more from you that they're willing to give, then they want more than they're willing to give. Name a leader, say for General Qasem Soleimani, who's paid that high of a price recently, who you can think of. I can't think of one who's paid that high of a price. He was murdered in a drone strike. Now people are like, this is that whoever wrote that was probably writing it on behalf of. Listen, the U.S. floundered the pandemic, right? Because D. Treasy should have said, you know what? Look, we're just going to keep everything open, or we're going to close everything, and everything should have been on one accord. Nothing else. But that's not how it played out. But black folks, I need y'all to recognize, I need y'all to understand that you're not to blame for why you don't have a strong sense of warriorism. Right on? You're not to blame. You know what I'm saying? And when I say you, I'm talking about us collectively. Because one person per family who goes hard is not enough to carry everybody. Not right now. Once again, everybody has guns. It doesn't take very much skill to kill somebody with a gun. It just takes the conviction to levitate that trigger to the rear and point it in a positive direction that's going to give you the desired result. Save that you don't get hit first, where you know it's fatal and you can't come back from it. Right? That's my point. And we got too many brothers and sisters, man, who they don't get it. You're rooting for a losing cause. You know what I'm saying? You acknowledge your own ancestors' suffering and can't acknowledge the suffering of someone else. There's something wrong with you. There's got to be. Once again, do you think the Chinese asked the British to get them hooked to dope? Do you think the Iranians wanted to be forced out, muscled out of all the goodness of being able to transport their oils freely? Do you think the Russians have wanted to be used as a doormat, right on, to all their other cousins of the Turkish Empire for all those years? This is a big deal. See, folks don't look at it like that. They don't understand. The way of the warrior with Rick is a simple thing. Get close to your enemy. Be stealthy. Don't strike unless you're sure. This is Rick's for sure. Don't strike unless you're sure. Unless you know for a fact. And see, the reason why Rick didn't retaliate right away is because vengeance is the Most High God's. Right on? Vengeance is God's. So when Rick retaliates, if they have had to wait years to retaliate, and it's just the circumstances play out a certain way where it's highly favorable for them, Rick is in their right mind to say the heavens have aligned this for this to happen like this. It's not Rick's actively seeking the vengeance that they feel that they righteously deserve much more than it is Rick being put in a place by making the right decisions. Okay? Because God can lead anybody. Can you dig it? What's up, Dwight? This dude, man. What's up, brother Dwight? Shalom, bro. Where we at, man? Yeah, man. My guy. Yeah. Because I'm trying to tell y'all the devotion that these countries have had to have for all these years and not straight a path is epic. Oh no, great to see you too, bro. You know, I'm just in here talking about how Rick, Russia, Iran, and China, you know, the way of the warrior, which is, it's not a code of silence so much as it is, if you have to do damage, do damage. And if you don't have to do damage, you don't do damage. Be peaceable, you know? And Rick has practiced this really excellently for like the last 40 years, almost 50 years. And this is why they're so close to getting everything right. No, yeah, it has been a while, bro. But we have both made it. You've made it, I've made it. That's all that matters, man. We can't make them love us. But the true warrior, right, is a peaceful being. They don't go out there not looking for a problem. But a true warrior knows that if you shy away from an issue, it only gets worse. As much as a man can live in peace, he should live in peace. He'll probably live a lot longer like that. But it doesn't mean that they're going. But once again, though, bro, this is why Rick has done what Rick needs to do, which is to bring themselves in a position where the great devil has to be confronted. You know what I'm saying? And the issues will most definitely be for everything that's wrong, that even that Rick does. All of Rick's dirty, everything that's wrong with all of us will be brought to bear in the moment of truth, as far as when there is not another day to live on the earth how we've been living and everything changes forever. In that moment, it's going to be something. But until we get to that level, it's going to be brothers and sisters who don't hear messages like this. It doesn't really get, obviously YouTube is never going to let me blow up. They would never want that to happen, because then people might actually listen and might try to live a little differently. And when you put a certain message out there and it continues to reverberate, that becomes something. You can't have a message of folks doing the right thing. That's the last thing they want to hear, is doing the right thing. But the right thing was done because, brother, the United States is thousands of miles away, okay, from the Indian Ocean. So why do they have the once again, the idea that where we live here in the U.S., I'm not sure if you're back in the U.S. or if you're still in Germany, family, but if you're still in Germany, right, it would be like Germany trying to tell somebody here in America or in Hawaii how to live their life. It just doesn't go well. But yeah, man, the way of the warrior, brother, is a peaceful thing, and it has to be. And brothers and sisters, all y'all have to understand that what he said, that is the truth. You know what I'm saying? Is that peace is the way. But there is no peace for us in this land because they don't want to make it right. Okay, brother, so you get exactly what I'm saying. How can we be way over here and trying to tell somebody way over there how to live their life, or what they can bring out of their port, what they can bring if they want to bring death and destruction to their own people, let them do that. That's not for me or for you or for whoever to decide, because here in this land, they tell folks that you can be non-binary, whatever that is. You can be all these things, right? And people have to accept that, and to a certain degree, they want folks to respect it. And if you don't act like you respect it or even accept it, they'll call you a hater and a bigot. However, folks who live in their own land have been practicing a way of life for thousands of years, well over 1,000 years at least, are being told by a place that literally got all of its wealth off the backs of black people, right? And the immoral practice that was, the way that slavery was initiated is what makes slavery so wrong. Not that blacks were slaves, it was the way that they were slaves. Because it's not like, if you believe anything you've ever read, and if you understand how we ended up being sold to the white man, we were already slaves or servantile to those groups of people over there in Africa already. So it's not as if we went from being, special to being, to being low down. No, we were already in a servitile role. But it's what they done during that period that makes it so, like, really abominable and heinous. So, brother, once again, folks just can't get, they want for somebody to respect their household. You can't come into, I know for darn well, anybody listening right now, anybody who's going to listen to this knows darn well I can't come up into their house telling them what to do. Right. But yet, there's folks who believe that they can tell somebody what to do, how to live, who doesn't even live on this landmass. They live on another landmass between the land masses. So you have to cross over Africa, so-called Africa, to even get to these places. Think about what I'm saying. And what'd you say, brother? That's right. That's right. That's right. But see, but bro, that is the that's how it works. And we can't act like that's not what it is. So black people have to stop being so, like, we live in America. I get it. Like I said before, no one wants to not have some kind of identity. But at what point do you realize that you've been living a lie and that you don't have to live a lie anymore? Word? If we're really not from this land, we're actually not these people, even if we were born here. They don't accept it. They don't accept us, and they don't want us here. And they make it abundantly clear that they don't want us here. So why should we want to stay here and engage when those who would do the most harm to us are here in this land? Think about that. Those who would hurt you the most live in this country. In the last however many hundreds of years, those who have hurt you the most live in this country. Save for the black Arabs who live in the Middle East who helped initiate slavery and they've hid their hands while throwing stones the whole time. But that's neither here nor there. Well, it is here and there, but for this, we'll just leave that be. For us black people born on this turf, born in this land, who understand that life is actually a struggle. So it's number one, the struggle is real. So you can't make fun of the struggle. You can't diminish and antiquate what it is to struggle. You see what I'm saying? Because that's the disrespect. Like I said, I'm not over a slave. I'm not better than a slave. I come from the stock of slaves, so therefore I can be no better than them. But you have folks who act like because they don't live in the hood no more and they don't struggle like they used to struggle, that they can speak to the struggle and diminish the struggle, like the struggle is not real. So what about folks who just end up in unfortunate incident after unfortunate incident because the people are a prey and a spoil? What about them? You see what I'm saying? Is it always just that they make bad decisions? They don't know everything. No one knows everything. So if they did something, I'm not even talking about a sin of ignorance. If they just made a decision, just not being all the way informed, and now they have to bite the bullet on that, how much, when do we say that there's a difference between somebody who chooses to mess up and there's a difference between somebody who gets messed over? You see what I'm saying? And Rick messed up and Rick got messed over. And now they're trying to get back right. I'm not saying, oh, root for them to do nothing. What I'm telling you is to keep an active two eyes on the situation. Because the brother's saying, hey, it's going there. All right? It's going there. They want us to be in fear of a nuclear war, but what you should be more afraid of, I don't love the internet, but what you should be more afraid is if you got up tomorrow and the internet wasn't working. That's when you know it's going to go. No, there's a problem. If you can't make a phone call off your phone, there's no internet, there's no nothing. Know that there's a problem. Know that when everybody's been going to the store, swiping debit cards, they don't work. That's when you know you got a problem. Until you wake up and that's the issue, right on. Don't sweat no nuclear stuff, because if they were gonna do it, they would have already done it. I think we all know that. I think we're all aware of that. I know that for to be the fact, but I believe that we're all aware of what I'm saying. Like, that's not an untrue thing. As close as they were to pushing the buttons during the Cold War, they didn't do it. If they were going to do it, they'd have done it then. Right. So the fact that they didn't, the fact that when these cats were even way more bloodthirsty, way more murderous and blood hungry, right? That bloodlust, as they call it, right? When they really had it strong back then. You're telling me that they didn't take a chance on nuclear war and just seeing who was going to come out on top? Right. They didn't do that for a reason. There's a reason that they're not going to do that, like I told you. And even if they do, just get to your local bank. Most banks have bomb shelters, just in case y'all didn't know. But get to a nice local bank. Don't go to no shitty, crummy bank. Yeah. Just in case they try to do something stupid, like, drop actual bombs and not nukes. Yeah, that's a nice place to go for a bomb shelter, to a bank. They normally have them. Yep. So, before I get ready to roll out, brothers and sisters, I need y'all to understand that the way of the warrior is about actions taken, is about things that you can monitor and you can keep up with, and it's also about the results. If a real warrior does their job right, they can live in peace. But once again, if you've made a decision in the past that was the wrong decision, and you empowered a group of individuals that should have never been empowered, then now you can't live in true peace, because this group may find ways to victimize you or find ways to bring you low. And because this is the reality, you're going to always have to fight. So the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, RIC knows what he has to do. RIC knows what they must do, because they don't have a choice. If they stand by the article, the socialist article called America Imperialist. But America is an imperialist nation. Right. They've been accused of imperialism since after World War One, and really since before World War One, if you think about Theodore Roosevelt and the good neighbor policy. But after World War One, it was not even a question. When they went down there messing with the Panamanians and all that stuff. Anyway, man, this shit is so deep. Imperialism. And now America wants to be an isolated imperialist. That don't work, homie. All those places that you robbed and raped and took from and told their progeny that, hey, you can come to our land where we live and we'll set you up because we took everything from y'all. You'll never be where we're at exactly, not in groups, in large numbers that we find unacceptable, but we'll let a couple of y'all come up. You can't ever forget nothing like that. You can't ever let that go. Do y'all understand what the Russians went through after the fall of the Soviet Union? I mean, like, let me just paint a picture. Whatever you guys think a 90s movie is, that was Russia. People just walking up, getting blasted out of nowhere. Just crazy. The guys sitting in a restaurant, guy just walk up, shoot them all up, shoot. It's just crazy shit. Just wild, okay? Whatever you think the 90s were, that was Russia, for sure. No joke about it. Place was terrible. And I went to school with a bunch of people from the Eastern Bloc. Ukrainians, Moldavians, Russians, a couple Yugoslavians. You don't normally meet them. A few Lithuanians. You know what I'm saying? Right? But you guys get what I'm saying. I went to school with these cats. I went to school with people telling me all kind of crazy ass shit about what they saw when they were coming up, right before they got to America. Cats who could barely speak any kind of English. So when people try to say, and of course I went to school with with people from like Iraq, and I met a couple of people from Iran. I don't think I went to school with anybody from Iran, but I met people in my life, since being an adult, who were from that place. China, obviously, like I told y'all, my first actual friend in school was a little Chinese girl named Mu Yin. I'll never forget Mu Yin. So that's one of those things where I can acknowledge just how much Rick has actually been around my life and what impact it's had on me as a person to be able to stand back now and to realize, like, okay, the only reason why they're even in this nation is because they were on the losing end of a conflict that ended hundreds of years ago. And the byproduct of that conflict was that because they could no longer fight militarily, a specific group of Negro Afro people would be brought to the land that is called America. Okay? In turn, because they couldn't do anything, they just continued to live their lives. But as time has begun to go forward and go forth evermore, the need to do something or to try to do something or to seem as if you weren't just sitting on your hands before 145600 kicks in. You follow what I'm saying? That's the big part here, brothers and sisters. We have to really acknowledge what happened and why the way of the warrior is peace, but peace is only found through the removal of your enemies. And normally that is by means of being violent. You know what I'm saying? Oh, of course, bro. Out here, that's just how it is. Yeah, that's just a whole bunch of them out here. Yeah, whole bunch of Vyacheslavs and Ilyas. Yeah, whole bunch of them. But anyway, people just don't understand, that it's a way of life that they know about, that they never abandoned. They're just as warrior-like here as they are at home when they're actually rooted in their culture. So when a person who's Russian is like, I'm Russian, right? They don't call themselves Russian American, they call themselves Russian. And a person who's from China only calls themselves Chinese, right? But they speak English, they're able to operate and to do what they need to do. These are cats who, no matter how soft you think they are, those cats are willing to go hard for their motherland and their fatherland, respectively. So, that's just what it is. And I know a lot of folks don't want to hear that. Brothers and sisters, we don't have a home to fight for. You would fight for America that would treat you. You listen to me, niggas. I said niggas, listen to me. You would fight for a racist ass country you could win the conflict today and tomorrow they'll be calling you nigga. No, that night they'll be calling you nigga. Nigger, excuse me. Fuck that. That's the dumbest shit I ever heard. You want me to put my ass on the line versus some cats who, for as far as I can tell, are going to inadvertently help us by subverting those who are oppressing us. Man, I'm telling y'all, it's that's why I was just quiet for a second because I'm blown away by the idea that folks would tell me that this is my home too. See, it's different when you live in a palatial, plush, extravagant estate, one that has a sense of majestic to it, right? It's different. You know, you probably feel like you got something to lose. But if you're me and you've been living the way that I've had to live and the struggles that I've had to endure through, it's easy to say, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I have no vested interest in fighting for this country, period, whatsoever. None. The way that I've been treated by the courts, the way that I've just been treated in general by society here, I have no vested interest in doing anything. See, other cats might feel, some of y'all watching this might feel differently. I understand I wouldn't protect myself, but I have no vested interest in fighting for America. None. When I thought I had a vested interest in being a citizen who kept other people from getting killed every weekend and from crashing their cars by having too much to drink, they got me up out of there. So I definitely don't have anything for these cats. And I'm not going to encourage my brothers and sisters to believe that they have anything to fight for here. If you believe that you have something to fight for in America, then you clearly don't know what happened during slavery. They not even a month ago, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, they had the Tulsa hearing. A major disappointment. Like I said, had some McCreary sounding guy up there talking for black people. Pathetic. And because we have no warrior culture, real men would have told that dude who were around, who would obviously, I wasn't around to do nothing to him, but the brothers who were there would have told that dude, hey man, you got to go, bro. We don't even need you here, man. Real men would have told that dude, you got to go, bro. We got this. This is us. Can't nobody talk for us better than we can. That's what real men would have done. But because these niggas aren't raised in warrior cultures at all, they think, once again, you think levitating a trigger to the rear is being a man. It's not that they don't know anything. And if they think that, then why didn't they all go join the fucking army, the Air Force, the Marine Corps? And it's something, right? And go show how badass you are somewhere else, as opposed to terrorizing your own folks. Or why don't you just go terrorize those that you claim to be the problem in the first place? Asking for a little too much there, huh? See, that's the beef, though. These niggas want it so badly. They so badly want to have it both ways. I'm sorry. I'm not going to let the victimizer claim that they're a victim in the end. But I'm also not going to let somebody who doesn't understand my story speak for me, more so than that. If y'all stand in the way of the Most High God and His vengeance, that's on you if you get crushed. Can you feel me? It's 2021. Like I said, I'm waiting for 2024 to see if we even pull up on the year without any kind of conflict because it's looking crazier by the day. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the new world order, the new world order. They're not, they all these demons and devils don't work together. Exactly, bro. You're absolutely right, brother. Brother Corey Tyler, my brother. Hope you're doing all right. But yeah, uh, if cats think that getting in the way during a great conflict is, if you think getting in the way of the vengeance is the move, I'm not trying to hold nobody back, get in nobody's way who thinks they got something to prove come a day where it's monitored. That's all good, bro. Don't trip, man. You know, all my people get one of these little blue things. Word. I won't say that I was the first guy to just mod up everybody, but I was really one of the first cats to do it for the reason that I needed it. Because y'all remember back when YouTube used to send these funny acting characters to the videos for no reason. That used to be really suspect, really suspicious. But brother Brent, man, it's when you roll back and you hear some of the stuff, you'll hear me jump all over the place like I normally do. But what this has really been about is just how Rick conducts themselves and how it's not about how they just do, it's just about they've never had a lapse in warrior culture mentality. Never. No matter how low, think about this. Even when the Chinese were all the way doped out, there was still contact to their warrior culture and their ancestry. Black people were broken down 2 generations into slavery. Forgot who they were, let alone all the other things that we've suffered since being in this land, i.e., crack cocaine. Oh, no problem, brother. I just want to know that my people is good. But yeah, man, it's gonna be a blessing, bro, when we finally get to see who the real bad actors are. Years and years ago, brother Baptized the Scribe made a video called oh my goodness, man. Is it Esau was black or Esau was not the white man? That's what it was called. Esau was not the white man. And he had a running series of it, right? And this is a long time ago. This is 5 years ago. It's not that long, but it's some years ago. It might even be longer than that. And in the videos, he used to break down the lineage of Esau. And what he was trying to explain was how their seed had been placed in a popular position or in a favorable position when the state of Israel was created. And how, in fact, the state of Israel would not have been created if they were not going to create the state of Jordan. Now, why this is so important is because the only nations who can pull off that veil and actually expose the Afro-Jordanians for who they are, keyword Afro-Jordanians, are the actual Iranians and folks of that region. But nobody wants to talk about that because then you're talking about exposing the Ishmaelites and we're talking about a lot of cats who've been hiding their hands getting exposed here. But the only way that ever happens is if Rick puts pressure on America, because America is eventually, once again, they're going to cut ties with Israel. Israel won't cut ties with America, I don't think. I think America's going to cut ties with Israel. Either way, it's happening. One is going to ditch the other. It's coming sooner than people think. Oh, brother, man, yeah, I mean, well, man, like the Shaw Brothers kung fu flicks, man, they're epic, bro. But but people don't understand, you know, what happened. Like, folks don't get it, bro. They just don't know what has to be. If Rick does not put the pressure on America, they're never gonna the veil that is the Afro-Jordanian, that is Esau, will never be pulled off. I have a feeling it's gonna sound crazy. I have a feeling that Esau's own side is there's somebody on the inside. There's somebody on the inside of the bloodline who's working against the actual his own people. It's the only thing that makes sense at this point. But Rick has to push America into a position to where we can't really support you. We have to support ourselves. We don't have to worry about Israel turning on America. Israel has to worry about not getting wiped off the map if shit goes south. Big facts. If it all goes south, the Indians and the Japanese will turn on everybody that is a so-called Western ally. Think I'm lying. Why do you think the Chinese are trying to buddy up with the Africans? Sure, you could say some of this is to rape the continent, but it's also to assuage the immediate wrath that would follow. Oh, nobody has nuclear bombs anymore? The immediate wrath that would follow something like that wouldn't be pretty, y'all. So it's better that they think that they're all working together. But Rick has to place America in a position that is so delicate that all Rick can do is defend itself. It may take 2 or 3 more years, y'all. May take just till tomorrow. We are going to see. We are going to get to figure out. Well, when it actually happens, we'll know. There won't be any confusion. There won't be. There will be not one moment of confusion when it takes place. What's going to go down? And all those over there who've been hiding their hands are going to be virtually forced to expose themselves because folks will see that it's all your fault. And when folks see that it's all their fault, they're gonna want to do something about that. Let's just say it like that. I don't see cousin and brother sister tribes of Esau who are in the immediate region. I don't see them taking the news that Esau is the reason why the world is like this very lightly. I don't see them taking that in a very ha-ha, jokey, laugh manner. I don't perceive that at all. Perceive quite the opposite. But the only way that you can get any of them touched, any of them hit, you have to get this great devil over here in Babylon, in this part of Babylon, totally sequestered and held off so that where the broad walls can fall and the high gates burn in fire, then that way that other Babylon, every nation on the earth, and also here too, because everybody who's been born is there's somebody from everywhere here in America gonna consume them. I know people might think that I just sound like I'm just like a jealous ass, hating ass nigga who is just angry, but I'm really not. I'm actually more or less on the side of y'all. If y'all look at what's going down and what's happening, what else is going to take place? At some point, all of this has to come to a head. You can't have Iran getting as close as Venezuela and then migrants still being pushed up. Why do you think Kamala Harris went as far as Guatemala? Why do you think she said, do not come? Why do you think she said that? Because they understood. They understand where that ship is going. It's going to Venezuela, dog. They're like, whoa. They're like, whoa, we can't have them come here. I don't know, offload, I don't know, 50 Iranian well-trained Qud forces, their highest level special force dudes, send them on up, make the perilous trek, get some good old U.S. government tax dollars spent on them, and then wait for the day to jump off. And then if they send a steady number of these cats and you get them all in, areas where they're able to move around, move about and move around and have it set up to where, oh, he's going to go stay with his cousin here in Seattle, Washington, and he's going to go stay with his cousin here in New York City, and this guy's going to be in Florida, and this guy's going to be in California, and they just make sure that they're all sprinkled, dinkled everywhere, nice and good, right? You got a big problem on your hands. You got a big problem on your hands when you find out that some of these storefront owners are actually hardcore nationalists. It's okay. See, they don't like what I do, but they have to respect it because I've never been able to go places like they've been able to go, yet I'm analyzing the situation in a very practical way. If y'all don't think that there was something that could connected with the fact that RIC did a military drill in the Indian Ocean, then now Iran is using the same path that they would have done that military drill on to go out to Venezuela. Kamala Harris just goes down to Guatemala talking about do not come. I'm telling y'all, they're not worried about no damn nukes. They're worried about the Iranians dropping off physical bodies and not taking them back home. That's what they're worried about. And if this becomes a regular thing, man, you're talking about you could what if you get 10% of your special forces and a small percent of your regular contingent forces while you're still actively recruiting so you don't lose your numbers, you're just sending dudes to another place. Like I said, don't worry, we're gonna weigh this bitch down. Right. Cats don't want to hear this because then it destroys the whole belief of why they want to build that wall in the first place. It's not about keeping us in this joint. It's about keeping certain cats out because the only way you cannot let the only way the prophecy can't come true is if everyone is not here. But also, how can you converge on me if I have a big ass wall built? You can't converge on me then. That's the idea, right? You just can't just collapse. You can't just push up from the border of Mexico millions of people, oh my goodness, who have no good intentions. Riding horses, driving cars, riding donkeys, oh my goodness, I told you, not pretty. Not pretty. Now, don't nobody want to imagine nothing like that because they're like, man, I'm just trying to live till tomorrow. And I'm just trying to, I hear that. I'm with you. Salute for being like that. But let me tell you something though. You can't want the Most High God to get rid of all the evil and then not have the Constitution to see the evil removed from earth. You have to have the heart to see that. And if you don't have the heart to see that, you have to have the sense to put yourself out of harm's way. You know what I'm saying? You can't try to roll the dice on that. That's too dangerous. But I'm telling y'all this, brothers and sisters, and I'm really about to go because I don't want this RIC to last too long. Right on, because I want to be able to do another one in a couple of days, and maybe even not even that, maybe just a day and a half, and just really start to break down some of the warrior aspects of like, okay, these guys used to train with this weapon, they still do this, or this is whatever direction I'm moving with the RIC, I'm going to go there. But I just need y'all to see that RIC's way of life. We could talk about flatbread, but that ain't gonna tell you nothing. Word, that ain't gonna tell you nothing. What'll tell you something is if I say, "Hey, why do you think these cats are sweating bullets like this?" And then you say, "Well, Mitch, I don't know why they're sweating bullets like that." And I say, "Well, look at what just happened. There's a reason why they don't want nobody else trying to come up here." How many operators from Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, all those places, Russia as well. How many of them do you think are here? Before y'all say something crazy, there's folks in Mexico who look like white people that speak Spanish. So if a Russian dude learns Spanish, and there's a bunch of Spanish-speaking Russians, they've been doing this for years. If a Russian dude learns Spanish and come up here and play like he's Mexican, would you really know? Right. See, it's deep like that. So how many of these cats, how many of these jokers do you really think that have come up through? Even if you just say 10 over the last year, even if you only think 10 hardcore operators got past the border, all right, how many of them do you think are already here? You just say at least 1,000. If you're telling me that there's less than 1,000 hardcore operators all over the United States, you're tripping. For other countries, you're tripping. Man, I'm not going to get into all the secret missions that the CIA gets into and the FBI gets into on U.S. soil. It makes it look like it's something totally different, from accidental deaths to full out police raids gone bad, everything. I'm not even going to break it all down. I'm not even going to get all the way caught up in that. There's a lot there. But what I am going to say is this, is that there's a vested interest in the CIA and the FBI and all like agencies, the NSA, the DIA, all of them, to know that there are those who are here to do harm. That's it. They're not here to do anything else. And they're not, listen, they're not dumb enough to attack when they can't do maximum damage. Because maximum damage is when the system is no longer able to support itself and the response will not be what it typically would be. Now we end on this note. In the movie called Sicario, I want to say it's the second one. I can't think of what that one is called, but the movie begins and it has a cat at the border, and it starts, and they're all running away, this, that, and the other. And then eventually it gets to the point to where they get the dude stop, and Cuz blows up a suicide vest, right? Boom, blows himself up. And I couldn't help but to believe to myself. I said, that's happened. I said, that's happened. That's happened. They're not going to tell us about it, but that's happened. Because the fear of the cartels and the Taliban getting together, that was a reality in the 80s. Y'all, it's 40 years later. Going on 40 years. It's 40 years later, though. And a reality of the 80s, you're telling me 40 years later can't just be, it was a reality back then. Could it just be the truth now? Right. Because if it's just the truth right now, that means that, when I say there's at least 1,000 hardline, I'm talking about serious, gritty operators, at least 1,000 in the U.S., but there's probably a far greater number than that. I would assume there's a small army's worth. When I say small army, I'm guessing somewhere around 10,000. There's a small army's worth of fighters who are probably in this nation right now. Every day, that number goes up. Some of these cats work as school teachers. Some of these cats are in the military. Some of these cats are police officers. Some of them even have operated as vagrants. But they know that come that day, this is it. That's all they live for. I know it's hard for people to really imagine that. that somebody would live their whole life just for one moment. But yes, just like all those movies that you guys watch and you're like, oh, that was dope. Oh, he waited the whole movie, which might be like a 20-year period or whatever. He waited the whole time to do that, or she waited that. Right. It's just like that. It's no different. They've been given a mission. They believe in their mission. And every time they get doubtful, the devil does something that shows them they are the devil. Doesn't matter if one or two of them is not the devil, the other 98 are. The other 99 are. Straight up with no good intent. And that is hard to swallow for most of us. It's hard to deal with. It's a difficult thing to take in. I understand that. But what we can do about it is know that there is a group out there who, unlike us, they haven't been stripped of their warrior culture, so that way they don't know how to go about certain acts of business. And the business just being, once again, just to be peaceable. Right on? It's going to say what? Be nice until it's time to not be nice. Right. So that means that until that very moment, these cats are going to be telling people, thank you, come again, doing all that crazy stuff. Whatever they do, whatever their business is, they're going to keep that cover up. And then come that day, I know for a fact that's what's happening. See, and there's countries like Italy who are passive supporters of the Chinese, right on? And they think that, that these guys didn't grow up. Some of these cats really worship Mussolini, think that they are Mussolini's type stuff. Anyway, there's so many groups here I could point out that have sentiments that are more likened to RIC's than they are actually America's. And that's what makes it so dangerous. It makes it extremely dangerous. Is everyone who is in this country who is not from this country, do you really believe that all of them have no national pride? No, think about it for a moment. All of the cats who are not from here, with white skin, who they know that America has done things to their country in the past. You don't think that some of them harbor like secret grudges? Like, man, if they had never done that, I don't think I would even be here. Don't worry. That's what they're terrified of right now. Because if you relinquish, it doesn't, once again, I told y'all there's only one way to fix it. America's starting to see that if we don't do it the way that he's saying, they're going to lose way more anyway. But they just can't imagine laying down and just taking the punishment that they deserve, which is give my people everything and fall on the sword. Don't worry, the unrighteous that are left will force on the sword. But that's the only way they can make it right. They're not willing to do that. They're not going to do that. So guess what? You got nothing to worry about. All we have to do is sit here and wait and keep being patient and just keep making it. When I think we're actually at around 500 days, I'm going to let y'all know. Can you dig? We're not exactly 30 days out. We're maybe a little bit over that, but close to that point. And once we hit that 500 piece, I'm just going to wait for the next 100 days. And I'm going to let y'all know when we hit another 100 piece. And we're going to keep it going until that. And we're going to see. We're going to see just how thin the dough is rolled. Because I told y'all, I've been telling y'all know what I'm about to say. The meal that is fit for a king will never reach his lips. In the Most High God of Abraham do we trust in, and do we put our faith in. May he guide us through the troubling times that are coming. May you be wise enough to listen to him, and may he bless us all who will do the right thing. I thank you for listening to this rendition, this part of Rick. I know I went all over the world. I know I go all over the world. I can't help it. But brothers and sisters, there are links in this little chat thing here that I put in there that y'all might want to check out. Please look at the actual overview of how the Indian Ocean looks. Please check it out. Please look at, again, if you didn't catch the article, I'm going to read it. If you listen to the video again, I'll just read it to you. You don't have to do it yourself. You don't have to do any work. But if you want to go and just read it yourself and just kind of put together the idea of, okay, this is what they're doing. This is how they're probably going to do it. And it takes longer than one day for them to do it. They're not the Most High God. Right on? They're not the Most High. They were born on earth like me and you were born on earth. So they can only do what an earthling can do. But having said that, your time is greatly valuable to me. I pray that you all make it to wherever it is that you must go tomorrow. If you don't have to do very much, I pray that your rest is righteous tomorrow. Okay? I would hope, I would pray, and I would ask the Most High God that next week is better than the week that you just had, and that tomorrow is better than today. I salute y'all. Brothers and sisters, you guys know I love y'all with all my heart and all my soul. I really do. Trying to work all that not good energy out of me, all that hate out of me. I really am. And it's a slow process, but it's coming. Y'all take it easy. I'm out.